What do you got for us today?
Well, I did bring in snacks because you hounded me about not having any snacks. I don't know if you're gonna like this one.
Now you know that everybody who goes to our church right now is thinking the exact same thing.
Is why haven't we had snacks on
No,
here?
they're seeing what you've got.
Yeah,
and they're all no.
What are you dipping those in?
That they're all wondering, is there orange juice?
Is there orange juice? There is no orange juice.
Good.
Welcome to the Gathering Greenhouse, a podcast to help us grow together. I'm Steve.
And there will be no misinformation today.
Okay. It's going to be one of those days.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay.
You bet.
And we do have John, but he is over here behind the scenes pushing the buttons.
John has a new job.
He's on the ones and twos.
Yeah.
All right, so you hounded me so much.
Wait, did you have a mic back there?
No.
That's an oversight. Because honestly, I mean, now that he's gone, we can talk about him. I always hated it when Matt would have to yell in.
Yeah.
I was always like, why can't we just put a mic on that guy? But I think John didn't want to give him a mic.
That was probably wise.
Because John wanted to be in control.
I wanted that.
See, now he's got to yell. All right, sorry, go on. What do you got for us today?
Well, I did bring in snacks because you hounded me about not having any snacks. I don't know if you're going to like this one.
Now you know that everybody who goes to our church right now is thinking the exact same thing.
Is why haven't we had snacks on here?
No, they're seeing what you've got.
Yeah,
and they're all no.
What are you dipping those in?
That they're all wondering, is there orange juice?
There orange juice? There is no orange juice.
Good. Okay.
But I did hear someone tell me that they tried it and it was really good.
I don't believe that. I mean, I believe that they tried it.
I'm not going to call them out on the podcast, but I can give you their name.
Corey.
It was Corey. I don't know if that's surprising or not.
I mean, I believe it. Yeah, I don't believe that it was good,
He said
though.
it was good.
I don't believe that.
I don't either. I don't believe that it's
See,
good.
sometimes people tell you stuff like that because they want you to try it.
Yeah.
So you guys probably don't remember the movie. I think it was called The Shadow. It was one of the Baldwin boys. It was one of the worst movies ever. So I was in college, and I was working at a Christian camp in the summer, and so I was running the youth program there. It's like a family camp. So families come together for the whole week to do their vacation, and then they have like a youth program. And
like
so
over the summer kind of thing.
So no, they come for a week.
A week.
Yeah.
But over the summer.
For the whole summer. Yeah. So it's a new week every summer.
Every summer. Okay.
So I used to tell people, like, I'd explain it as like the resort and Dirty Dancing, but for Christians.
Okay.
Right. So
does this still exist?
Oh yeah.
And there's like a family camp you can go to.
Yeah, it's called Maranatha Missionary and Bible Conference.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I've heard of that. Yeah.
So actually, there are people in our church whose kids were in the teen program when I was doing this.
Oh, okay.
And so anyways, the other guy who did the youth program with me, we went to see The Shadow one night, the movie.
This was okay? Like you were allowed to?
Oh, yeah, this was fine. So it was one of the worst movies I have ever seen. In fact, we both fell asleep in it. But we decided as we left that we were going to tell all the other people who worked at this camp how awesome it was.
And they went and saw it?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And so, like, we made a whole bunch of people go see a terrible movie. That way we didn't feel as bad. I think that's what Corey's doing with the...
He's trying to...
Yep.
Okay.
He probably tasted it, and he's like, that's the worst thing I've ever tasted.
It's a very long story to say Corey was lying.
I think he wants us to try it so that we will also experience how bad it is.
Well, does it make you angry that there's already a lot of Christmas-themed stuff out there? Do you care at all? By the way, this is limited edition, which means if you want these, you got to act now.
Yeah.
Because we don't know how long. It's very limited time.
I'm okay with it in November.
Yeah.
I don't love it in September or October. I guess my only issue is this. I don't like that we go like Halloween to Christmas. Yeah. I think we should go Halloween to Thanksgiving, and then Thanksgiving to Christmas.
I know a lot of people, probably mostly men, is Thanksgiving is their favorite holiday of the year.
Because I love to give thanks.
Is that why? It has nothing to do with all the food and the football?
Yeah, it's the food in the football.
So we celebrate with Maria's family, and they do this thing where everyone circles up in a chair, and everyone has to go around and say something they're thankful for.
I hate that.
Yeah, me too.
Hate that. And I know I'm the gratitude guy.
You are the gratitude guy.
But
it's always a little awkward. I mean, it's nice, but sometimes her family's really big. And then they family invites other people, and then you have some other random people that we only see every other year. So it's not quite as meaningful.
Right. Well, so in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says, "Do your acts of righteousness in private."
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes it's performative, right? And so, gratitude is always good, but performative gratitude is maybe not so good. So
it leads to bad things if you do it
pride.
If you do it regularly.
Yeah. Can we open the Oreos?
We can open the Oreos.
Yeah,
These are
the Oreos.
individually packaged, which is nice. So they're always fresh. John.
The best opportunity for a segue there.
Okay, that one missed. Can you get it? Do you need me to throw you another one?
I'm gonna need another one.
I'll throw a little harder.
Okay, so it says 5 festive designs to discover.
Oh, really?
So I think they're all going to be different.
Oh no, so it's the design.
Oh, it's on the wafer.
Yeah, they don't give you exactly.
So they show.
So let's see. Is it going to look like the packaging here, right? So
if not, I'm suing.
As you should. We live in a democracy.
I got a reindeer. I got Rudolph actually.
You got. Okay, let's see what I got. I got. I got a snowman. This one is probably, and it's kind of smashed.
So this is kind of cool though, because it's got the red nose.
That's cool. I'd say it's not quite as cool on the snowman. You can't see it from there.
But he's got the wrong camera.
But if you can see the snowman
over here, John. There we go. See. Okay. This little dot here is Rudolph's nose.
And this is probably, it's got a lot of red 40 in it, I'm sure.
Is that
for John? Don't you have ADHD, John? This is gonna set you off. Okay.
Is ADHD a thing? Is that the question? Or is the red 40 thing a thing?
The red 40 thing's a thing.
But is ADHD a thing?
I would imagine.
RFKJ is going to get rid of ADHD.
Because of getting rid of red 40?
Yeah.
Is red 40 the one that's...
No, I have no idea.
Bad? I'm pretty sure it is.
All I ever hear him talking about is he's getting rid of everything. So.
He's hitting it home with millennials.
I know we were supposed to talk about this stuff, though.
Oh.
So the cream is pretty good.
It is. But what do you think about it being green and red? Would you rather just have it be one color, or do you like the two colors, or do you just think
I think it's fine.
Better with...
It's fine.
It tastes like an Oreo.
It's not double stuffed or triple stuffed, so
I agree
that's
with you.
a downer.
The best part of it is the red nose on Rudolph.
Yeah, I think that's kind of cool. But good job bringing these. Steve, I am thankful that you brought Oreos today.
They're pretty good. I
love Oreos.
I actually really like the individual packages because I don't know about at your house, but at my house, someone always leaves a package open, and there is nothing worse than a stale Oreo.
Yeah, Miley does that.
Miley leaves it open.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you should be feeding Oreos to Miley.
I get really mad at her.
Yeah. Stale Oreo is pretty disgusting.
What if we made a list of things that are good when they're stale?
Peeps, is that one of them?
Probably.
Peeps are probably better than when they're stale.
Like marshmallows.
Marshmallows are better stale?
A lot of people like them stale.
I like the little ones when they're stale. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try.
Are you ready for the best thing?
What's the best thing?
Circus peanuts.
Oh, gross. Those are. I think they come stale.
They do.
I'm pretty sure.
They don't get stale though.
Do you really like circus peanuts?
So I brought home some circus peanuts before we went out to Oregon.
Yeah.
Thinking I was going to take them with me for my airplane snack, and I forgot them. So they just sat on the counter.
Wait, you really you genuinely look forward to eating circus peanuts?
I don't think this has ever been a secret. I love circus peanuts.
I think
I opened them and had a couple of them.
Yeah.
And then I left them at home. So I got back a week later. They were still great. So.
What do you like, the texture or the flavor?
I have no idea. I think it's got to be the texture.
Okay.
What do they taste like?
Like mild corn syrup? I don't know. I don't know what they taste like.
Somebody asked ChatGPT, what do circus peanuts taste like?
It's kind of a little like vanilla-y. like maybe a nougaty, like a light, something like that. I don't know. I don't like them. My dad loved those, so we always had those growing up. But you'd have to be really desperate for something sweet to eat those things, because they're kind of like
maybe you should
Twizzlers.
try them
It
again
reminds me
now
of
that
eating plastic.
Maybe now that you're older, you should try them again.
I thought we did. I thought I brought them one time.
Maybe
to this.
Maybe. All right.
Yeah. So should we get into some content today, or do you have something else?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we were on week 3 of our More Than Able sermon series, and we talked a lot about gratitude in that. I think it is not only a great way for serving and giving back, but it's a great way to view life. It eliminates so many problems if you can be grateful. But it's something you have to I don't think it's something that's naturally ingrained in us. It's something you have to practice. You do have to practice gratitude. It doesn't come naturally to us. So I have a couple of questions here. So there were 3 words you gave us on Sunday to help us be more grateful. What are those?
Yeah.
Can you tell us those 3 words and kind of explain that? Because I think it was really good.
Yeah, but before I do that, let me just follow up on what you said, because I think it's important.
Yeah.
That, we don't naturally lean towards gratitude. And I think that's true because fundamentally, there's 2 ways to view life.
Yeah.
Right? There's only 2. You can either view life through the lens of what do I have or what do I not have.
Yeah.
And as humans, we are naturally inclined towards viewing what we don't have.
Yes.
So go back to the Garden of Eden.
Yes. Or would you say, is it the same thing to say that I view what other people don't have or what other people have? Is that the same concept, would you say? So if you look at someone and say, well, they have this nice car, why don't I have that? Is it
same thing?
It's the same concept.
Yeah,
It's just
you're still focusing on what you don't have.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you have a nicer car, you're not worried about it.
Right.
Right? So you're still worried about what you don't have.
So same type of concept.
Right. So in the Garden of Eden, when Satan comes to Eve, the very first temptation Satan ever brings out, he's telling Eve to do what? Pay attention to what you don't have.
Yes.
Which is fascinating when you think about it, because what God said to Adam and Eve was, you may freely eat of all of the trees in the garden.
Yeah.
So think about how much they had.
Yeah.
They had almost everything, and they had as much as they wanted of almost everything. And Satan gets Eve to do what she shouldn't do by getting her focused on the one thing she doesn't have. And for her, it's like, oh, that's, the one thing I don't have.
How true is that in life, though?
Yeah.
You can have, we are so blessed, but it is often small things that we wish we had that can derail your whole day, your whole attitude. And it's so easy to go down that spiral.
When we look at what we don't have, that's when we get angry.
Yeah.
That's when we get frustrated. That's when we get depressed.
Yeah.
All of that comes from looking at what we don't have. So that's at a very fundamental level. You have to choose how you're going to view life. And like you said, we are naturally inclined to look at what we don't have, and so we have to force ourselves to pay attention to what we do have, which is why gratitude is such a powerful habit.
Yep.
And so I like to say, starting on your day with gratitude. Just be very intentional about paying attention to what you have. So 3 words.
Yeah.
3 words. If you're struggling to be grateful and you don't know where to start, think about 3 things that God has done for you. Number 1, He's protected you. And maybe you don't know what He's protected you from. Maybe you do. At any level, He's protected you from bad decisions, because all of us make bad decisions and don't suffer the full consequences of those, right? Like, we do stupid things, and it's like God protects us from ourselves so often. So that's the first word. The second word is God's provision, which is simply to say you have everything you need, right? If you have clothes on your back, if you have food in your belly, if you have a roof over your head, then you have everything you need, and God has provided that for you. Even if you don't have as much as you want, or exactly what you want, He's still provided.
Yeah.
But then the third word is really the big one, and this is, how has God prospered you? And on Sunday, some of the things I mentioned were, you're prosperous.
Yeah.
If you have one bathroom in your house and a toilet that flushes, you're prosperous.
Yeah.
Because the majority of the world doesn't even have that.
Right.
But then we go on down the line. If you have enough clothes in your closet that you can wear different clothes 3 days in a row, and nobody will notice, then you're prosperous.
Yeah.
If you have a room in your house that is dedicated to storing things that you never use, then you're prosperous. If your garage is so full that you can't get your car into it, then you're prosperous. And sometimes we don't think about how prosperous we are and how much God has prospered us. And it's just helpful to think about all the things I have that I never use.
Right.
So
if you have a bank account, you're in the top 50% of all people in the world or something like that. So there's a lot of statistics on that of how blessed we are in light of how the majority of the world lives.
Right. Yeah. So if you can go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
There you go. If you can choose your grocery store, imagine that, right? Like you could go to Kroger, or you can go to Dots, or you can go to Dorothy Lane Market, or you can go to Meijer, or you can go to Walmart, or you can go to Costco, or you can go to Sam's Club. I mean, the choices that we have, amazing.
Yeah. So
amazing.
Yes. So those are good. So protection, provision, and prosper. So how do we practice those things?
I think so I'm a list person.
Yeah.
Right. I like to make lists, and I think that's what it is. And you don't have to write stuff down, but when I say begin and end your day with gratitude, I'm saying, like, as you're laying in bed, before you fall asleep, just take a minute and think, how has God protected me today? Like, how did God provide for me today? How did God prosper me today?
Yeah.
And just make a review of those in your mind.
Yeah.
And when you wake up in the morning, how about just start with the fact that, there's oxygen.
Yeah.
Right. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I'm still, I'm in bed, that my house didn't fall down on me overnight. Stuff like that.
So I also like the thing that you say along with it. So that's all good, right? We can practice gratitude, but if we still feel like, man, like, why isn't God blessing me, or all those things? I like the when you say, God has given us exactly what we need. If he wanted us to have more, he would give us that as well. So it's saying that, hey, actually the life you have is exactly the life that God wants you to have.
Right.
If you're thinking about, well, I just need to maybe pray more, or I need to work harder, or I want more. If we can view life as saying, hey, I am content right where I am. I can be content in all situations. I don't, have to be, a millionaire. I don't have to have all these things. God has given me exactly what I need, and I can be thankful in that. Contentment. How do you see that work with gratitude? Do you think that you become grateful, then you become content? Or is contentment something you also have to work on?
Well, you do have to work on it.
Yeah.
But I do think that contentment is fueled by gratitude. I think it's hard to be content if you're not grateful.
Yeah.
Because, again, contentment is basically, as Sheryl Crow said, right? It's not getting what you want.
Paradise and build a parking lot.
We did this. We did this exact. Exactly like that every time.
I had to.
Except for, I think usually I say the great philosopher Sheryl Crow. I didn't say that this time.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's wanting what you have, right? And it's being willing to look at what you have. But I think that's where gratitude comes in, and gratitude fuels contentment, right? So contentment is really just the opposite of stress and anxiety. In Matthew 6, Jesus says, be anxious for nothing. No, he says that in Philippians, but in Matthew 6, he says, don't be anxious about what you have or don't have.
Right.
Right? If I take care of the birds, if I take care of the flowers, I'm going to take care of you. You have everything you need, which is what you were just saying. I already have everything I need to be the person he wants me to be and to do the job he wants me to do.
Do you feel like the world, and when I say the world, I mean, like advertisements and social media, commercial, all those things, are those things leading us to the opposite of contentment, to want more?
Yes.
So how do you battle that?
You have to recognize it.
Yeah.
Like, if I want to sell you something, the first thing I have to make you do is covet.
Right.
That's the first thing I have to do is I have to get you to believe that there's something that I have that you don't have that you need.
Right. Which is funny because we're heading into the most grateful time of the year, Thanksgiving time, Christmas time, when you give presents and when you should be thankful for all the things you have. And it is the most consumeristic time of year as well.
Yeah, I think there's probably a whole conversation to be had about how Black Friday has completely consumed Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Like, now, instead of having this day that's set aside to be thankful, we're actually running out to consume.
Yeah.
And it's like that's just so backwards and inverted. And it's the powers of darkness convincing us that we don't have what we need.
Yeah.
And it's the same lie that Satan told Eve. You don't have what you need. God's holding back something that you need, and he's not giving it to you. I would say probably 95% of the stuff that gets purchased on Black Friday is not stuff that we need.
Right.
But yeah, so
I would agree with that.
That said, I mean, I'm going to go buy stuff on Black Friday. Actually, I'm probably not now.
Right.
We were waiting for the Black Friday sales to get some new appliances, but you
did it already.
We did it.
You
already.
got a good deal.
We couldn't wait. Yeah, we were impatient.
Okay.
No, we got a good deal.
Okay. So is generosity really good for people, or are you just trying to get their money? Right? And like we don't talk about money often, but we call it kind of a capital campaign, right? Kind of, we don't really call it that, but that's what we are into. We are running out of space, and we need to provide more room for the ministries that are doing good things. Right. So along with this, right, it can very much feel like when we start talking about generosity and, oh yeah, we're also creating more, that it's easy to look at a church and say, well, you're really just trying to convince me to give you some money.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So is generosity actually good for people?
So I think the answer is yes, and I think everybody knows that.
Right.
Right? Because we all know that when we do something nice for somebody else, we feel good about it. If you help a little old lady across the street, you feel good about it afterward. It makes you feel good. And in the long term, it doesn't harm anybody, right? It does no harm to me to be generous to someone else. So I think in one sense, there's that. So I think everybody knows it is. So I would make three statements, I think, to try to answer your question. The first is yes, generosity is good for you.
Yeah.
The second is we at the gathering don't need your money, right? We don't need you to give, and if you want to give somewhere else, that's fine. It doesn't matter. And the third statement is when people give to the gathering, I think we do a really good job of stewarding those gifts well and using them to maximize our kingdom input or our kingdom imprint. What's the word I'm looking for? Impact.
Yeah.
Right. So that said, I think it's a good thing to give to a church like the Gathering because that is, I think, a really good investment in the kingdom of God. Right. But then walk it backwards again. You don't have to give to the Gathering, but generosity is good for you.
Right. So you say we're really good at maximizing our money for kingdom impact. Can you give, like, what does that mean?
We run very lean. Like we don't spend money on big opulent things. Our building is
very plain.
It's
our carpet is ugly and old.
It's a box. Yeah. It's we keep it neat. We keep it clean, but it's not fancy or shiny.
And it doesn't really serve all of our needs, and we recognize that.
We're super flexible in using our space and using our resources.
Right.
Many
of us don't even have offices to go to.
Yep. Nobody on staff is getting rich doing this. So, I mean, we really do try as much as we can to run as lean as we can so that our impact can be greater.
Great. Okay. Last question I have here is how much should people be planning to give to the More Than Able project, right?
Right. So having said generosity is good for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to give to the Gathering.
Right.
But we think the Gathering is a good place to give. So our church is in a campaign right now called the More Than Able campaign. If you go to the church, you probably know this by now. And we've talked about Commitment Sunday that's coming up on November 24th. And so on Commitment Sunday, we're going to actually ask people to say, hey, we want you to think about what the future looks like for you.
Yeah.
And over the next 3 years, what can you give above and beyond your normal giving to make a greater kingdom impact together?
Yeah.
And so how much should people be thinking about giving? I would say this. Think about what God has given you above and beyond what you need and how much of that you want to give back to him.
Yeah.
And then think about, can I give a little more than that?
Yeah.
And then go from there. And I would suggest this, maybe even do a kind of a scaled up approach. Like, you know what? I'm looking at what I have this year.
So you would look at your finances.
Look at your finances. Yep. And say, I think we'll use little numbers to make this easy. Like, I think I can give $10 a week extra, right? So for that first year, I'm going to give $10 a week extra. That's about $500. Is that right? Yeah, that's about $500. But you know what? Odds are, at the end of the year, you might get a raise. You know, there might be other places you find money. And so I'm going to say, so that second year, I'm going to scale it up, and I'm going to give $20 a week extra. So that's going to be about $1,000. And then that third year, say I'm going to scale it up again that third year, and it's going to be $30 a week extra. It's going to be about $1,500. So altogether, my gift will be about $3,000. I think that's a good way to think about it, is to say, you know, what can I do? And maybe you want to break it up more if you really like numbers and spreadsheets. Say, you know, for the first 6 months, it's 10. For the second 6 months, it's 20, then 30, 40, whatever that looks like. But, you know, as God has enabled you, you should think about what you can give. And a good way to look at it is just say, what do I need to live on? Because God will always provide that. And then how has he prospered me beyond that? And how much of that do I want to reinvest in his kingdom?
Yeah. So that's good. So it goes along with generosity, right? Because God has blessed us that we should bless other people with that. So there's a lot of different ways you can give. But ultimately, like, you know, for someone who's here and, you know, for me, it's very easy for me to see the good things that are happening for the next generation. But if your kids are out of the house, or, you know, they've been out of the house for a long time, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult because it's not in your everyday life. But would you say also, like, you know, the gifts that giving to the More Than Able campaign, where we're going to be adding on to our building, is that leaving a legacy to the next generation as well?
Yeah, it is leaving a legacy. I think that's a good way to look at it. It's doing something for the next generation. You know, the reality is, as we get older, you know, we start to ask ourselves questions like, how much does my life matter? How much of what I've done actually matters? And I think, you know, as you get closer to the grave, you want to think that you've actually done something and you matter. Let me give a harsh reality here for people. Nobody's going to remember you. Right? I mean, this is what Ecclesiastes teaches us, and that's okay. I mean, your kids are going to remember you, your family's going to remember you, your friends, but 3 generations from now, nobody's going to remember you.
Yeah.
But if what I give, you know, impacts the kids. So a great example, I talked to a young man on Sunday, you know, very young, probably early 20s, who just had, I think, his second time at our church. And something about the sermon really kind of connected with him, and he wanted to pray with me and do some, and that's great. The reason he was there was because a young couple in our church had invited him. They're part of our young adult group.
Yeah.
Now, the reason we have a young adult group, and people don't even know this, our young adult group is just exploding.
Yeah.
Like, these are, you know, people in their 20s, they're married couples, they're singles, in their 20s, they're doing Bible studies on their own, they're running this. But a lot of that happened because at the very beginning, it was you and it was John and it was Andrew that kind of got it off the ground. And Andrew's really running with it now. But the only reason you guys were able to launch that is because there are people who have given of their resources so that you guys can make an income so that you can still take care of your families and devote yourself full-time to ministry. Right? So that guy who talked to me, he would have no clue that there are hundreds of people giving to the church that allowed you guys to create this young adults ministry, and then helps Andrew to continue investing in it so that it continues to flourish, so more people are reached because of those gifts. And every single one of those people that has given to your salary and to John's salary and to Andrew's salary, they've made a kingdom impact. And none of us will ever see the full scope of it, but we can all at least go to our graves saying, you know, I made investments that mattered, and those investments are going to live beyond me.
Yeah. And if you are a Christian, right, and you are, and it's important to you and valuable to you, that's the kind of legacy you want to live. You want to be able to use the resources that God has given to you in some way, shape, or form to continue the good news that I was given, that you were given, that allowed us to change our lives and become better, you know, persons, better parents, better husbands and wives, and all of that of it's the same gift that we were given that we want to pass on to others. And we can't do that without physical space to meet in. You can't do ministry to the form of which we do it, to the scale which we do it, without space to be able to do it.
So the gospel reached me, and the gospel reached you. largely because a whole bunch of people who are dead and gone now were willing to financially give to their churches.
Yeah.
And we want to do the same.
Yes, I can relate because I got saved at college ministry. That those college students weren't giving a penny to the church,
right?
Because they're poor college students. But I got saved through college ministry because the church funded that college ministry because they were right on campus of University of Akron, and because of those people who were not receiving anything from us.
Like, would you say they were receiving zip? Were they receiving zip?
They were receiving
from you?
zip
Come
from
on,
us.
that's pretty good, right?
But it's the zips, so it's close.
They were receiving zips.
Zips.
They were receiving zips from us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's a great example of like, are those 20-somethings really going to give back to the church financially? No, they're not. But it's a long-term investment, and successful ministries, that's what they think about.
Yeah.
Of how can we multiply, and how many of those young adults who are on fire right now will long surpass us in being able to share the gospel. And I think that's not what it's all about, but that is a good deal of what it is about. It's taking part in the mission. Like this is a direct correlation for us. We see it because we live it every day.
Right.
But it's those stories like that help other people to understand that there is a direct correlation to what we do to what the results that happen are.
Yep, absolutely. So, cool.
Okay. Well, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Here.
I think this was a pretty good podcast today.
It was.
Yeah. What was different?
Is there Matt was in here?
I kind of missed John, though. John usually has some really good, wise things he adds in, so I kind of missed that today.
Yeah, he is very sage-like.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I like that.
Yeah. That's
my language.
Do you have one of your
I
manufactured exits?
I do have one
Okay.
here. I do have one.
How to ruin a good podcast episode.
I'm probably going to butcher it because last time my reading skills were terrible, so I'm going to try to do it better.
Have you been practicing?
I did try to practice it, yeah. Thanks for tuning into the Gathering Greenhouse. Wherever you are on your journey, remember, we're growing together. Take what you need, share what you can, and we'll catch you next time. Be blessed.
All right.
I thought it was the prosperity gospel version of the signing out. The take what you need, share what you can.
Take what you take.
And you'll be blessed.
All right. I like it.
Thanks.
Yeah.